Maegor Targaryen, the half-brother of the late King Aenys, usurped the Iron Throne from Aenys' son and heir, Prince Aegon, in 42 AC, with Aegon unable to claim his throne due to being besieged by the Faith Uprising, trapping him in Craigcall Castle, eventually fleeing with his sister and wife Rhaena Targaryen to Casterly Rock, wherein they were given protection by Lord Lyman Lannister. It was during their long stay at Casterly Rock, Rhaena gave birth to twin daughters, Arya and Rhaella. Aegon, barely a boy of 17, remained adamant in his claim to the Iron Throne, but found little support among many of the lords who feared the wrath of Maegor. When Maegor demanded Lyman Lannister hand over Aegon, he refused, but was also not willing to support Aegon, expelling him from Casterly Rock. It was said that at this point, even Aegon's own mother had begun to abandon her son's claim to the throne, and the few young lords who had followed Aegon to Casterly Rock departed. Thus, Boy King was given the title Aegon the Uncrowned by the small folk and lords alike. However, Lord Jon Piper and his sister Melanie arrived at Lannisport and pledged House Piper to Aegon, Melanie Piper being an old friend of Rhaena from her youth. While Maegor was visiting Oldtown, Aegon and Rhaena used their uncle's absence in King's Landing to covertly enter the city. While there, Rhaena retrieved her dragon, Dreamfire, while Aegon claimed his father's dragon, Quicksilver. The uncrowned king returned to the Westerlands on Dragonback to gather an army, though Lord Lyman Lannister still was reluctant to offer his full support. Instead, Aegon and Rhaena gathered their support at Pink Maiden Castle, the seat of House Piper. Eventually, Aegon gained support from lords from the Westerlands and the Riverlands, including the Tarbacks, the Pipers, the Roots, the Vances, the Freys, the Pages, the Parrons, the Farmans, and the Westerlings. Additionally, Lord Corbray, Denys Snow, and the fourth son of Lord Connington joined Aegon's side. Additionally, 500 men came from Lannisport, led by Sir Tyler Hill, Lyman Lannister's bastard son. Scholars and historians speculate this was Lyman Lannister's way of supporting Aegon without publicly associating himself with his cause. 15,000 men had joined the rebellion as Aegon the Uncrowned began his long march across the Riverlands to strike his claim to his father's throne, led by the uncrowned king himself on his father's beloved dragon, Quicksilver. Though their ranks did include seasoned commanders and well-practiced knights, no great lords had rallied to Aegon's cause. But one of Maegor's queens and mistress of whispers, Tyanna, wrote to warn Maegor that Storm's End, the Eyrie, Winterfell, Casterly Rock had all been in secret communication with his brother's widowed queen, Alyssa. Before declaring for the Prince of Dragonstone, Aegon the Uncrowned, they wished to be convinced he would prevail against Maegor. Aegon required a victory to secure the Great Lords, and not just a victory, a decisive victory. However, Maegor would deny his nephew that. From the twisted towers of Harrenhal came Lord Harroway, from Riverrun Lord Tully. Sir Davos Darkland and the Kingsguard marshalled 5,000 swords in King's Landing and struck out west to meet the rebels. Up from the Reach came Lord Peake, Lord Merryweather, Lord Caswell, and their associated levies. Aegon's slow-moving host found armies closing in on them from all sides, each smaller than their own force, but so many smaller armies that Aegon, still only 17 years of age, didn't know what to do or where to turn. Lord Corbray advised him to engage each of the smaller foes separately before they could join their power to create one big force. But Aegon did not want to divide his strength, fearing his smaller number would slowly be depleted by the time the main battle came. Instead, he chose to march onwards, towards King's Landing, but they would never reach their destination. Aegon the Uncrowned found himself surrounded on all sides by his uncle's forces. Just south of the God's Eye, he found Davos Darkland of the Kingsguard, with a force from the capital blocking his path, even as reports of the Merryweather and Caswell forces advancing from the south, and Lord Tully and Harroway from the north. Prince Aegon commanded his men charge Darkland, hoping to break his line before the other loyalists could assault his flank. Aegon mounted Quicksilver to lead the attack himself. As he took flight, men below began to shout and point skyward. Balerion, the Black Dread, had appeared in the southern sky. Maegor had joined the fight. For the first time since the doom of Valyria, dragons were to do battle. Quicksilver was 1/4 of the size of Balerion the Black Dread, and was no match for the older, fiercer dragon. Quicksilver and her pale white fireballs were engulfed by the great black flames of Balerion. His jaws closed around Quicksilver's neck and ripped a wing from her body. Screaming and smoking, the young dragon fell to the earth, Prince Aegon with her. The battle below was just as bloody and just as brief. Once Aegon the Uncrowned was dead, The rebels, seeing their cause was doomed, mostly tried to flee, but they were surrounded, and there was no escape. By day's end, 2,000 of Aegon's followers were dead, with Maegor losing only 100 men himself. The notable among the dead included Melody Piper, the friend and favourite of Rhaena Targaryen, along with her brothers, and on the king's side, Sir Davos Darkland of the Kingsguard. 6 months of trials and executions followed. Only the king's mother, the Dowager Queen Visenya Targaryen, persuade Maegor to spare some of the lords, albeit stripping them of their lands and titles. One key person, not killed or captured, was Rhaena Targaryen herself, the sister and wife of Prince Aegon. She had remained behind at Pinkmaiden Castle with her young twin daughters and her dragon, Dreamfire. In the annals of history, it is debated if Rhaena should have joined Aegon in battle. However, it's unlikely Rhaena would have changed the course of the battle, as Dreamfire was still a young dragon, and Rhaena was no fighter. When word of the battle reached Rhaena, she took the news in a stony silence. Fearing her uncle's wrath, she gathered her daughters, Arya and Rhaella, and fled to Fair Isle, where its new lord, Mark Farman, who had lost his father and elder brother in the battle, gave her sanctuary, and swore no harm would come to her or her girls. For a year, the people of Fair Isle looked eastwards, waiting for a sight of the Blackdread's dark wings. But Maegor never came. The king had returned to the Red Keep, where he set about his next task, securing the succession and getting himself an heir.